5:15, we'll start the meeting. It is 5:15. This is the Board of Public Works meeting. It is Wednesday, July 26, 2023, and we are in City Hall Council Chambers. Second item on the agenda is approving the minutes of the June 28, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the June 28th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is water and sewer agenda items. Discussion on approval of water and sewer vouchers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the water and sewer vouchers. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Water and sewer operations monthly report, utility superintendent Steinhagel.
We replaced a broken fire hydrant on Elm Street. It's leaking, so did that. And we've been working on gate valves and curb box repairs in the streets and any leaky valves. Installed the water service on Johnson Street for the new housing. The remainder of the 2023 PFAS monitoring requirements have been canceled by the DNR. We'll have one test for the EPA yet to do, but that won't cost us anything. That's paid for by the EPA. And we should be eligible for reduced monitoring in the future. They'll know when they come up with that application. We have posted the results on the city's website under utilities. We also got our testing completed for our drinking water for everything from all the wells, and nothing came back concerning. Everything was good there. Any questions?
Any questions for utility superintendent Steinhagel? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to discuss and consider allowing Geiss Meat, Little Florida Trailer Court to connect and dispose of sanitary waste to our system. Brad?
We went through our ordinances, and Darren and I, looked to see if there was anything that restricted us from allowing waste from an outside source. There's nothing that says we can't. It just would have to be the right fit for us as far as cost to the city. And the proposal that Geiss Meat has given us, I think you have it on your desk there, it basically says that they would pay for all connections. They would pay for the treatment of the waste on a, well, just like any resident would on a quarterly basis. And I guess the other items are 14,000 gallons a month, was it?
A day.
I'm sorry, a day.
Yeah.
And then Gabe kind of worked up a figure as far as what that would mean as far as revenue for us for a year.
We'll be looking at roughly $28,000 a year in revenue, and that is not counting any additional testing that we charge out. We did review the numbers from there, and it's not too concerning on our side of what would be getting from their test.
And the route would allow us to put our services, well, have them put their service in on the industrial park, and then on G over to Rindell Printing there on Johnson Street. I mean, that's a connection we want to make eventually anyway. I think at that time it may be an option for us to put water out there, and they were even talking about possibly hooking up to water if it came to that. But as long as we're in there putting the sewer, and I think it would be opportune time for us to put water at least out to the industrial park. And I guess Andy is here, and if you want to come up to the mic, Andy, and if they have any questions for you.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. So this whole thing kind of came up. We're looking, and we work closely with the DNR and stuff on our sanitation, and we have 2 big wells that are up there. But our fields are starting to, fill up a little bit, and I feel like in the next 10 years, for sure, we're gonna have to do something, so that's where this all kind of come up to, You mentioned about water, we could definitely look into that too, because we're working with the DNR, and that's an expense that we have all the time, monitoring our wells and everything too, so, if there was a way that we work together and continue on the loop or something, we're open for just about anything, We're just kind of caught between a rock and a hard place and looking for trying to find the best alternative for what we got going on. Instead, we put in our own treatment system, there's a big expense there, which will probably be about the same as coming into the city, but there's the ongoing monitoring all the time, then we have to deal with all that too, so that's kind of.
So you're looking more for guidance from us that, yes, you would be allowed to hook into your system before you start with your engineering process? I mean, as far as what it's gonna cost?
Absolutely, yeah. I talked to Grant and Max Peterson for easements, and Maddie Hemmerall, to get through their property. We have verbals, we would pay them $1,000 up front, and then another $9,000 once we started the project, and we don't have the contract signed yet, working with the attorney on that. So that was our first step, and then I was gonna come to you guys and say, okay, I have this part, going, what do you guys think? Can we make something work? And then we would go from there, Expenses would be paid by us.
The requirements from the DNR or from the DOT to go under 51 are very stringent too. I don't know if MSA gave you a number.
Yeah, they did. It's like $50 a foot. I mean, it's not cheap. None of it's cheap. Same with the river, But I think in the end, if we do it right, it's problem solved for the next generation, for the trailer park. So that's kind of, trying to see what the best option is for us,
Any thoughts or questions?
I guess, Gabe, question for you is, we're already looking at some upgrading to the treatment plant in the future. Is this gonna fast track that more with the amount that you can think of or anything?
It won't affect, the amount coming in won't affect the plant.
Okay.
It's just the additional revenue.
Mhm.
Same as with septic haulers have been increasing,
Sure.
the more regulations. With that out there, might give us other options for septic haulers, if that would work out, because they've been asking for 24-hour dumping, like they do at other municipalities, which is all additional revenue.
Mhm.
And it would all be monitored. We'd do additional testing to make sure
Okay.
everything would be all right.
Mhm.
One of the ideas with the remote dumping of septic too, it allows a little bit of dilution before it gets to the plant. You're mixing with other waste streams, and it seems to help out as far as slug load into the plant, so.
And the odor problem, is you get a south wind going past the treatment plant, that's when
Mhm.
you get some complaints, but.
That's from the septic haulers.
And that's directly from the septics when they're dumping.
Any other questions from the committee?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a matter of cost. Now, on this map here, I see the red line starts in the middle of the industrial park. Is that where their sewer ends up, or do we still have to connect up by Rindell?
No, it would come down to G and over to Rindell.
So are we saying that,
That would be their cost. They
Their
were talking
costs
about going all the
also?
way down to the Bierman at one, or the Thielman and
Okay.
Pine Ridge Ave at one point, but I think it would make more sense for us to go over to G and Johnson Street.
yeah, it's a straight line, sure. And at times, we talked about crossing the freeway for water and sewer anyway, just for future industrial development.
That'd be more straight east of Thielman Street, but yeah, it's
I mean,
option to get across.
At our own cost, could we maybe properly size everything for future
Correct.
expansion? We would consider that?
Yep.
Or that, okay, shouldn't have to make you pay for all that. And I do also think that as long as we're digging a hole, it makes sense to drop in the water also, whether it's used.
Well, we don't bury them in the same trench, we bury them 8 feet apart in 2 different elevations, but it does make sense for restoration, and if we're gonna do anything else at that time, the machinery's there, why not do it?
Or at least get it across the freeway, I would think.
Yeah.
And we have our own excavators, I mean, or however, I mean, we can help, you know, with that.
Yep.
I think that makes sense too, if you're digging everything up.
I don't know, I guess.
We'd have to change the
My
proposal.
concern is basically opening a can of worms for, you know, what about the rest of the properties out there? You know, are they gonna wanna all of a sudden start hooking up?
Without being part of the city.
Right. I mean,
There was
we've got,
an issue just north of the prairie there.
right, we've got people in the city that are on
Private systems.
private systems.
You know, and we do have people that are, say, right on the north side of G that have asked, and we said, you have to annex into the city. In this case, there is no way for them to annex into the city. They don't have a contiguous border bound, you know. And you look at Wausau, they've accepted different, well, water issues as far as out to Maine, and I think they have a few other areas they accept. I understand what you're saying, and I think, Tom, we could word that some way there, this does not set precedents.
Absolutely.
And,
I mean, it really is, they know a little bit about your operation just because that Brent Walls and Fire. But, yeah, this really is unique. There aren't many of these floating around up there within the vicinity of Merrill. Yeah, I really don't worry.
And it's definitely a revenue builder for us.
And if we did the water too down the road, you know, that would be, I don't know if we would meter all the homes, or we would just put 1 meter on.
well,
You know,
it'd be no different than the trailer park down off
Oh,
of Thielman there. I
yep,
mean, it's
yep.
just 1 meter to them, and then you charge.
Yep, accordingly.
I see this as kind of a win-win for all involved, myself.
It's all about money.
Right. I'll make a motion to allow this to move forward.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to allow the Geiss Meat and Little Ford, the trailer court, to connect and dispose of sanitary waste to our system and potentially water down the road.
And we'll work with them as far as sizing and requirements, and
Mhm.
I don't know if you're gonna get MSA or REI or who you're
Yep.
thinking of, but when you get to that point, make sure we're involved. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Motion carries.
should go to council.
Yep. We'll go to the council meeting on the second Tuesday. I think it's the 8th. All right, Lori?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have discussion of capital projects. These are basically water utility and
Water and wastewater.
water and
Yeah.
wastewater. The first one is the 1-ton truck. We can see pictures. It is the truck is pretty well rusted. It's a 2008. Is that correct? And the box is
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
And you're going to reuse the box. This is basically buying the chassis.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep, the box previously rusted out, so we put a new one on,
New
and
box.
now, and to split it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the floor's rusted out. Talked to the mechanic, and he's right at the point where we're gonna have to stick a lot more money into it.
Mhm.
And he suggested too, that would probably be a good time to
Right.
get rid of it.
Mhm. Do you guys want to do these one by one?
And this is to let you guys know before, you know, we
Mhm.
get up, so it's up to you guys.
We just make a motion to forward it to the budget, so.
Okay.
Did everybody have a chance to review them? Are there any questions on all of them? Otherwise, just forward them to the budget.
now I'll make a motion to forward these capital requests to budget.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to forward the capital request to the budget. Any discussion?
A little more information on the automatic gate. That's, you're proposing that also. What, would we increase income from that? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly, yes. We'd have, looking at more security cameras around wastewater plant and the water. And the gate is bad and we can't have access this with the trucks, with the railroad there. So, and then we could look into taking septic after hours too, but that would be a trial basis to see how, see how it works out. They have to take their own samples and everything else, and has to be monitored.
Given you said possibly more income with that, more customers, or what are you thinking?
Especially the wet time of the year, they're asking us to open up early, stay open later, and we haven't done that so far. I think previously one of the meetings, or I think it says on here that we've more than doubled our income from septic trucks. I think we were up to 214,000 on revenue last year just on septic haulers.
Okay.
We do have one hauler that, I think he said he was making 2 trips to Wausau daily when we weren't open, either early or late. So, I mean, it would increase the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to forward these to the budget. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next are street department agenda items. We have discussion approval of street department vouchers. Dustin, you have anything you want to talk about, or?
No, motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is consider a street use permit application for the Haunted Sawmill to close the street in the area in front of the Haunted Sawmill, Hendrick Street and 7th Street to 8th Street from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the following dates in 2023, October 6th, 7th, 13th, 14th, 20th, 21st, 27th, 28th, and 29th in conjunction with the Haunted House event.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the street use permit application for the Haunted Sawmill. Any discussion? This is right in my area, and they've been doing it for years, and it's a good event for the, don't have any issues with it, so.
I know this comes back every year, but is there any way to not do it every year? I mean, so that,
Just be like grandfathered in.
right,
Tom, is there a way?
We could do that if that committee wanted to come up basically with a resolution granting them a street opening permit for
10-year period or
10
something?
years. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, for 10 years between the dates of as necessary for them.
I mean, granted, we don't get the $20 permit fee, but,
Nonprofit, whatever.
right.
Yeah, no,
That's something we wanna,
I mean, can we
Do-
amend the motion to do that?
yeah, we could amend the motion to do it and then
Sure.
forward
Like I
it.
said, I just bring a resolution to the council setting forth the terms.
And I guess I'll amend the motion to give them a 10-year
Grant.
grandfather, whatever you want to call it.
I'll second it too.
We have a motion and a second to amend the motion to do a resolution to the council for a 10-year reprieve of coming to the Board of Public Works for a street closed permit. Any further discussion?
I'd just be more comfortable if we ask them first if they want that.
But I can reach out to them on Friday and talk to them before, I'll do it before council, how's that?
So we could vote it in and offer it to them, and then if they, for
Right.
some reason, want it, we can change again.
Right, I'll reach out to them. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Street Department equipment, capital equipment requests. Again, we have a list.
Yep, so in your packet is our requests and then also our 5-year plan. Kind of what's decided amongst, and I think most cities are doing this too. 10-year plans just really aren't very realistic in this day and age. Prices change so drastically and interest rates that even 5-year plans sometimes are out there a ways, but it's good to plan and it's good to have your ducks in order. So the first item was just garbage carts. We are pretty much out. I think we are under 10 for sure, and I think there's 4 homes being built right now, so we're gonna be out by the end of the year. The issue is you can't order 20 or 40 or 100, you have to order half a truckload, which that's standard across the industry. They've got to set up the colors and the stamp and everything for you. So that's 350 carts, which then we'll have to hose somewhere too, but we're gonna need them eventually, so.
Do a lot of them get damaged, or have there been a lot of damage?
No, it's additional requests.
Right.
The businesses find out they can have 4 apartment buildings that we're allowing, can have 4, it just eats them up fast. I think we've gone through over 300 of the extras. So I
Okay.
ordered, I think 6% more than we needed.
Okay.
Pretty much gone. So I think we've had 2 or 3 be destroyed or damaged beyond repair, that's it, so.
It's not bad for a year out there.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, they're surviving, they're holding up well. There's little parts we replace here and there, but we have a good supply of parts and actually lids, but we just need the bins, so.
Okay.
Second item is our patrol truck. So this is our main sand or salting truck. It's the truck that goes out every time we do anything basically. And it's really the only one that we apply salt with because it can do it in a somewhat controlled manner. You look at the truck from 200 feet away and it looks pretty good yet, but when you put it up on the hoist, every time the mechanics do, they bring me over to look at it and it's rotting away. And that's not unique to any city or county. I mean, truck that's out in the salt like that, that's a rough life. The issue becomes it starts to go down more often. Hoses start to leak, fittings, everything, brake lines. It's been suggested for a couple of years now that we think about getting rid of it and trading it for a new one. As Mr. Rick, I'm sure, can attest to, ordering trucks, plow trucks especially nowadays, is not an enjoyable experience. It won't guarantee you pricing, and they surely won't guarantee you lead times. It's getting better, but it's probably still north of a year to get a truck, depending on what you all put on it. And it'd be easy to say we should put it off until it gets better, but if you look at the capital list, it doesn't get any better down the line. We need a grader before too long and some other timely things too. So that was our crews and mechanic suggestion, and I guess I agree with them. It's time to think about it.
Going to the one we have now is a single axle.
Yeah, so that is a single axle. We can't quite. I know we can't make one full lap around our route on a load of salt before having to come back and top it off because it only holds 6-7 yards. So we would go to a tandem. What that would do then is also give us another tandem truck for summertime, which there are days we definitely could use another one. So just more capacity, heavier truck gets around better in the wintertime.
Does the state reimburse for that truck at all?
They do not. Any work on state roads is our responsibility without any reimbursement. Not like a direct cost reimbursement. It's essentially through a separate road aids.
So there's no RMA or, okay.
What is the increased capacity of when you go to the tandem? Does it?
We go to about 10 yards of material, maybe a little bit more, as opposed to like the 6 we have now. Actually, excuse me, we have 10 yards now, so it would be probably more like 14 or 15 yards. So.
Okay. So about. Okay. I will make a motion to forward the 2024 request to the budget with a favorable replacement.
I'll second that.
I have one more question. Looks to me in here that tipping fees on recycle went from $42 to $75. That's approaching double. What happened?
That's the
Yep,
next
That's our
item.
next budget, or next agenda item, we'll talk about that.
I have a motion and a second to forward the 2024 requests for the street department equipment with a favorable replacement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we'll move on to 6-month street department budget update.
All right, so after 3 months, we talked about this, and I said we'd bring it back halfway through the year. Not much has changed, back then we were looking like we were gonna be over budget on our utilities, and that has obviously slowed down with, getting out of the heating season, but still gonna be high there. Steve, you're right, tipping fees for recycling is, almost doubled. That's just a product of the market. As soon as they let us know that, we obviously called around and checked, and prices were as high as $85 a ton.
Any speculation what's going on? Fuel will be part of it.
That's, mostly it's fuel and operation costs for the suppliers and the processors down the line from us, essentially.
Lack of market.
Lack of foreign market. It's all domestic based right now.
So they can't sell the recycles, so they're passing that on.
Correct.
And we can't take them to the
We
landfill.
can't dump them because, state.
We get a grant for recycling, and that's,
Counterproductive.
yeah.
Well, we may have to take another look at that somehow. It's getting to be.
Well, the stuff they can't get rid of, they take to the landfill. I mean, it's, you're handling it twice, but it's, we need the state to step up and say, okay, you no longer have to recycle this, and if we're gonna require you to do it, here's X number of dollars more that we have for you guys, because it is cost prohibitive.
And the recycling grant amount, I think it's been the same since 2010.
It went down.
Or,
It
yeah,
was
I mean, it went
50
down.
grand, it went down to 32 grand.
Right.
Is someone in contact with the state or?
We're at their mercy, but there's a,
Yeah, there's recycling groups that we're members of, and they're, they lobby
Lobbying.
and everything too, and we're on the pulse of any new news, but
Sure.
not much has changed there, so.
Don't think it's gonna get any better.
Right. The budget sheets aren't attached here, but we do have some pretty high repairs so far this year for traffic signals and for streetlights. We've had traffic signals hit out at East Main and Pine Ridge, and those are always expensive hits. And then 2 streetlight poles were hit also so far. We will see offsetting revenues, as I believe all 3 drivers were located, but just see if you see our budget numbers be high, that is why, so.
And I just want to say too that public service rates raised, there's nothing that any department can really do to stop that. I mean, I think that all the department heads have been diligent on trying to hold the bottom line, but rates are increasing, just like the tipping fees are increasing. There's not much we can do. We're gonna have to adjust our budget for it moving forward.
they turned the thermostat up in your office, didn't they?
They're just trying to get me out of there. Yeah. But any further discussion on the street department budget update for 6 months? I appreciate your effort onto that, Dustin, and you're doing what you can. We all understand that. We'll move on to 1-year garbage and recycle collection update.
All right, yeah, so last year in June is when we started our automated collections, so we've had a good year to kind of work some of the kinks out, get some numbers on where things are at compared to how it was, previously. Obviously, going from a 5-day collection down to 4, everybody's on the same shift at work, which is handy for scheduling. It's a lot easier to plug people in to fill in gaps that way. As we alluded to before, tipping fees, at least on the recycling end, are just tough to stomach, but not much we can do. Thankfully, the landfills rates have always been steadily increasing, but it's something you can anticipate each year at least. Carts, we talked about that already. One thing that we were curious about watching was our tonnage. The tonnage on recycling, went up, but it wasn't significant. And I always say it's hard to gauge tonnage in recycling because it just doesn't weigh much per volume. Garbage was up about a little over 400 tons from like an average. Now, the previous 3 years average were also 2 of which were COVID years where we were taking extra garbage and a lot of people were working from home, so it's maybe a little skewed, but you know, obviously the more capacity you give people, the more they're gonna put in there, so. Working with Kathy recently here to get a handle on, you know, cost of repairs and where personnel is going now that we are down to a 4-day route and really a 2-day route for recycling. So now that we have a full year, we have a good handle on what it's costing to maintain the trucks, how fast they're going through tires, things like that. So we should have a better representation for our 2024 budget, so.
Okay. Any discussion on that or any questions?
You may hear some complaints too as far as collection on some of these project streets. Normally they go out there the first thing at 6 o'clock and pick up garbage and recycle. And some of these people were not used to having their stuff out at 6 o'clock, so they got missed, and it's happened a couple times. So if you hear something on, especially on streets that we're working on, that may be the case.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for the update. Next, we'll move on to consider delinquent property bids received July 20th, 2023. And we had one bid for 503 Wisconsin Street of $5,500. The minimum bid was, what, if I remember, $5,000. So,
Darren, do you want to speak on that one?
Was information included in the
No.
packet?
No.
Okay. The bid was from Brian Hoffman and Anna Wright, and they are proposing to turn that into a duplex. Some of the concerns that I have was, I don't know if any of you looked at the actual condition of the place, but it was pretty bad. And that's a very small lot, it's 50 by 120, and there's not much in the way of parking there now. There's a garage in the back that's in very bad condition. So obviously it's up to this board which way that they want to go. If they were to approve something like this, you're going to have to put very strict conditions on it. Obviously, they're going to have to get permits and everything and go through plans just like you would be with a new duplex. And then there should be also a time frame put on there when the exterior has to be completed. I'm not so much concerned about the interior, but the exterior, there should be a time frame when that should be completed. Anybody from the street department that's ever been through that alley trying to plow and such, I don't think it would be a bad idea to remove that garage that's in very bad shape as part of the condition of it. And that would then allow some parking in that backyard, with that being a duplex.
Zoning okay for multi?
It's zoned for multifamily.
I guess we rely on your judgment. I mean, you want to set a time frame for completion or a schedule of what they need to have done at certain times?
Well, again, the interior, I would not have an issue with the time frame on the interior. The permit there is good for a year when we would issue that. I would want, by the time they get going, we're going to be coming up on fall and the winter, so I would give them a year to get the exterior completed with siding, windows, roof, all of those types of things. I'd put a condition on removing the garage also. And then if nothing was done with the property in a year, it reverts back to the city.
So how do we proceed? You put that in writing and then
Right.
we'd have to
Well,
look at it again, or-
that's what I would recommend for if you're gonna do a motion to accept the bid.
Maybe you can make a motion, incorporating Darren's recommendation.
And this goes to council then also, correct?
What was the first condition for the interior?
Well, under the building code, they would have to get permits, obviously, for everything to turn it into a duplex.
Okay. And I have 1 year for exterior and remove
garage.
I think they got it for the right price, or they should be able to anticipate some expenses along the way and some timetables, so, yeah, I would someone make that motion already?
No.
I'll make the motion. As
To-
to,
To accept the bid and to accept
the bid
with,
for Aaron's criteria.
with the conditions recommended by the building inspector.
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the bid for 503 Wisconsin Street at $5,500 with the recommendation that we follow the building inspector's guidance for timelines. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next, we move on to 1704 East Second Street. The high bid there was $25,695.
Again, with that one, I would just put a condition on it with the completion of the exterior within a year. And then if nothing was done within a year, then it reverts back to the city. So we're consistent with both of them.
Any word about duplex on that, or single?
Have not. I'm really not concerned so much with that one because it's a very large lot.
Very large lot.
Yeah. And it is zoned properly.
And the siding is pretty new on there, and the windows are actually replaced windows.
Yeah, the porch and roof on the exterior is probably the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a survey gap that should be I won't say repaired, but something should happen with the survey around that we should get cleaned up with the county before we transfer it.
Is there an alley to the north of it?
There's a gap back there.
Motion to approve again on conditions of recommendations of the building inspector.
I'll second it. We have a motion to approve the bid on 1704 East Second Street for $25,695 with recommendations of the building inspector for timelines. Any other discussion? Do we need to add that the gap thing gets straightened out? Okay.
Yeah, we just convey by quick claim deed anyway, so.
Okay. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Consider removing existing sidewalk from
Your Honor, what about the other two vacant lots?
no bids on
No
those.
bids? Do we need to decide what to do with those?
We'll bring it back. We do have, I think, two other lots, 400 East 4th Street, and thought there was one more that we're gonna bring back with, as far as the minimum bids, we may have to say no minimum or $2,000 or whatever the number we come up with. That's not an agenda item at this time.
Again, that's what I'd like to add. I think the total monies received for the two buildings covered our total expenditures for back taxes on the four properties.
That
We
was
want to look at
close.
it that way.
It was close.
Yeah, so we could really afford to do anything to have them revert back to the tax rolls.
Right.
We'll move on to consider removing existing sidewalk from 1309 to 1311 East 10th Street. There is no connection to other sidewalks and it needs repair and the owners would like them removed.
We're working on 10th Street right now through that area, and now would be the time to remove them. What we will do is extend their carriage walks all the way out to the curb, the new curb. There wasn't curb through this stretch previously. The homes to the west of there, I think there's 3 homes on that block that do not have sidewalk, and it doesn't connect anything. And like I stated in the item agenda, they are in need of repair. So the homeowners asked if we could remove them, and that's why I brought it here.
We have done this in other locations in the city in the past too.
I talked to one of the homeowners, their main concern is the mail. You know, the postman or UPS or FedEx needs access from the road. And so they need a sidewalk from their doorway out to the road. They don't need the sidewalk. You know,
And that'll be
in front of them.
handled with that carriage walk like city engineer Akey said, so I think we're fine with that. Is that correct, Rod?
Yeah, and we'll put that in the part of the cost as far as removing concrete project. So some of it would get torn up anyway with sewer and water laterals that are right there, so.
Do we need a motion?
I would feel comfortable with a motion to approve, and I don't think it has to go to council, it's just kind of policy
Policy,
decision.
I'll make a motion to remove the existing sidewalks at 1309 and 1311 East 10th.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to remove the existing sidewalk from 1309 and 1311 East 10th Street. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just, I think you've answered it, but we are gonna put sidewalks from the
Correct.
road to there.
Yep.
They already have walks out to the sidewalk, we'll just extend them. It's
One
normal,
does not actually, but
we'll normally do that.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Monthly reports. Any questions on any of the monthly reports? Hearing none, did somebody want to make a motion to place reports on file?
I'll make a motion that we place the monthly reports on file.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to place the monthly reports on file. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Date and time of next meeting, and the clerk has August 23rd at 5:15. Does that work for everyone?
Would it make sense to go to the 30th?
Last night PNF went to the 30th.
Yeah,
or-
we changed that other one.
That's great.
That's right.
Right.
Then never mind.
Well, this is at 5:15, that starts at 6. It's your pleasure, however you want to do
It's up to the,
As long as we don't have much to discuss, I mean, that
right.
Right.
45 minutes should be enough
I
for
would
me.
think so, yeah.
Yep. And we still have 2 weeks before the
Right.
Or
council, so it's,
what if we start at 5?
it. I need the information early because I'm going to be gone that week. The 22nd.
Would work start at 5?
Yeah, we can start at 5 too on the 30th.
Okay, on the 30th?
Yeah. Since it's a Wednesday, it doesn't. Does that work for you, Mike?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll make it work.
Yeah, change the schedule.
Again.
Table thing.
I've waited until this meeting because I was wondering if that was going to
Public comment period. Public comment period. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.